On the third anniversary of our wedding, Isabella Rossi, my CEO wife in name only, was at the airport embracing her old flame who had just flown back into the country. The man, Julian, shot me a disdainful look. "So, you're the placeholder?" Isabella's voice was cold as ice. "Know your place, Nathan." I was screaming with joy on the inside. The story was finally hitting its climax. The money was practically in my hands. I threw an arm around my stunned brother-in-law, Leo Rossi, and flashed a brilliant smile. "Let's go, Leo. Your big bro is taking you to the best wellness club in the city to celebrate my return to single life." Isabella and Julian were frozen on the spot. I practically had to drag Leo into the car. He was still in a daze. "Nate, are you insane?" My sister and that guy Julian, I slammed my foot on the gas and the car shot forward, leaving his unfinished sentence in the wind. "Call me Nate," I said. I glanced in the rearview mirror at the two rigid figures at the terminal exit, feeling so good I wanted to sing. "As of today, I'm not your brother-in-law anymore." Leo's mouth hung open. It took him a moment to form a sentence. "So, what am I supposed to call you? Call me Nate, or your brother-in-arms." My name is Nathan Price, and I'm a man living his second life. 3 years ago, I was a corporate drone stuck in the soul-crushing hustle culture. Then I was dropped into the world of a cheesy old CEO romance novel, becoming the disposable, contractual husband of the female lead, Isabella Rossi. My mission was simple: play the part of the perfect husband who adored her, shield her from all the sleazy guys trying to get a piece of her family's fortune, and hold the line until her one true love, the one that got away, returned from abroad. When the contract ended, I would receive a $20 million severance payment in a luxury penthouse in the heart of downtown. For this day, I had put on an Oscar-worthy performance of a man deeply in love for 3 whole years. I sent good morning and good night texts like clockwork. I tracked her menstrual cycle more accurately than she did. She had a sensitive stomach, so I learned to make over 100 different custom blended herbal teas to soothe it. Everyone in the Rossi family, except for Leo, was convinced I was hopelessly devoted to Isabella. In reality, the only thing on my phone's notepad was a single countdown timer. The day the timer hit 0 was today. Leo finally snapped out of his shock. His expression a complicated mess. "Man, are you not even a little upset?" "My sister is being completely outlined. Today is your anniversary." I laughed. "Upset about what? He's the one who should be leaving. And our gig is the one that's over. This calls for a celebration. We're going to our secret spot." Our secret spot was the most expensive men's wellness club in the city. The first time I took Leo there, I won his loyalty for life. He was too young for the whiskey bar, but he wasn't too young for a deep tissue massage. The services from the top-tier massage therapists paired with gourmet sliders and truffle fries beat sitting in a dark room playing video games any day. Leo's eyes lit up. "Hell yeah, it's on me today. I'll use the allowance Izzy gave me to celebrate my man Nate breaking the chains." The car pulled up to the entrance of the Foundry Club. The manager himself came out to greet us, personally escorting us to the most exclusive VIP suite. Leo and I each sank into a plush recliner, our feet soaking in a warm herbal bath while therapists worked on our shoulders with just the right amount of pressure. I let out a long sigh of pure bliss. This was the life. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Isabella. "Nathan, where did you take Leo? Bring him home immediately." I put the phone on speaker and tossed it aside. Leo grabbed the phone and replied with a voice message in an exaggerated, studious tone. "Izzy, Nate, and I are at a study session. The tutor says we have a huge mock exam tomorrow. We're pulling an all-nighter. Don't bother us." After sending it, he winked at me and switched his phone to silent. I gave him a thumbs up. This kid had potential. Just then, there was a knock on the suite door. The manager poked his head in, looking uncomfortable. "Mr. Price, Ms. Rossi, and Mr. Vance are here. They're insisting on seeing you." Leo and I exchanged a look. That was fast. He shot up from his recliner. "Nate, what do we do? My sister is going to lose her mind." I took a slow sip of my tea. What's there to be afraid of? Let them in. I was curious to see what she was planning. The door swung open and Isabella and Julian Vance walked in. Isabella looked furious when she saw Leo and me, each happily digging into a gourmet milkshake. Her expression darkened even further. "Nathan, is this what you call a study session?" Julian stood behind her, a faint, mocking smile on his lips. His eyes swept over me as if I were something he'd scraped off his shoe. "Isabella, I told you some people just don't have any class. They're a bad influence on Leo." Leo slammed his milkshake glass down and jumped to his feet. "Who are you calling a bad influence?" "Vance, what's wrong with me and my brother hanging out? It's not like I have my SATs tomorrow." Isabella's brow furrowed as she scolded him. "Leo, is that any way to speak to Julian? Apologize." Leo jutted out his chin defiantly. "No, why should I? Why does he get to talk trash about Nate?" Julian put on a magnanimous air and chuckled. "Isabella, it's fine. Leo's still young. Let's just focus on the important matter at hand." He turned to me, his posture reeking of superiority, as if he were here to pass judgment. "Mr. Price, I'm aware of your arrangement with Isabella. Now that I'm back, your duties are concluded. Here's a check for $50,000. Consider it a personal bonus from me for your troubles. I suggest you take the money, leave quietly, and stop bothering Isabella." He slid a check across the table toward me, his gesture casual and arrogant. I didn't even look at it. I looked at Isabella. "Is this how you feel, too?" Isabella avoided my gaze, her voice frigid. "What Julian said goes for me, too. Nathan, this was always a business transaction, and now the transaction is over. You'll get the money you're owed. My lawyers will see to it that the contract is honored down to the last penny. As for the $50,000, just take it. Consider it payment for your hard work these past 3 years. A dismissive little hard work. That's all my 3 years of dedication were worth." I smiled, picking up the check and twirling it between my fingers. Then, right in front of them, I ripped it in half, then ripped it into quarters. I casually tossed the pieces into a nearby trash can. Julian's expression changed instantly. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Isabella was also stunned. I stood up and walked over to them. I was a good half-foot taller than Julian. I clapped him on the shoulder, not so gently. "Mr. Vance, you got 2 things wrong. First, my contract with Isabella Rossi is black and white. $20 million in a penthouse suite. You think you could buy me off with $50,000? Are you kidding me? Second, you think I actually want to be with your girl?" I turned to Isabella, my smile widening. "Don't get the wrong idea, Ms. Rossi. Just like you, I've been counting down the days until this contract was over. After all, who wants to spend their life faking it for an ice queen? It's exhausting. Now that your old flame is back, I'm finally free. I couldn't be happier. Bother you? Where do you get this confidence?" The color drained from Isabella's face inch by inch. She had probably never imagined that the man she saw as a pathetic soul who lived and breathed for her would ever say something like this. Isabella's lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but no words came out. Julian's expression was beyond furious. He looked as if he'd been deeply insulted. "Price, don't push your luck. You're nothing but a kept man living off the Rossis. Well, why do you have to run your mouth?" Before I could respond, Leo exploded. He lunged forward, ready to throw a punch, but I grabbed his arm. "Leo, don't waste your time on a rabid dog." I gave his back a calming pat, then turned to Julian, my smile unwavering. "You're right, Mr. Vance. I was kept by the Rossis, but I held up my end of a contract, and I'm taking my payment and walking away. It's all above board. Not like some people who hide behind the title of the one that got away while their eyes are filled with dollar signs. Anyone who didn't know better would think you were just after the Rossi family fortune." Julian's pupils contracted. My words had clearly hit a nerve. He took a deep breath, forcing down his anger and turning to Isabella with a wounded expression. "Isabella, you hear the garbage he's spouting? I gave up my entire career for you. Is this really the kind of person you think I am in your heart?" As expected, Isabella's heart went out to him. She immediately turned on me, her eyes as sharp as daggers. "Nathan, that's enough. Apologize to Julian right now." I raised an eyebrow. "Apologize? What for? For tearing up his insulting check or for telling the truth?" Isabella's voice was laced with suppressed rage. I said, "Apologize. If you don't, you won't see a single cent of that $20 million threatening me with money." That was her go-to move. Too bad for her. It wasn't going to work. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice memo app, and casually held it out in front of her. Ms. Rossi, could you repeat what you just said? I want to make sure my lawyer hears it clearly. You're saying that if I don't apologize, you plan to unilaterally break our contract and withhold my compensation. That's a breach of contract. And the penalty for that, I believe, is double, isn't it? Isabella's breath hitched. She stared at me, her eyes wide as if she were seeing me for the first time. Julian tried to fan the flames from the side. Isabella, don't let him intimidate you. He's just a lowlife. If he wants to sue, let him sue. As if the Rossi family is afraid of some broke nobody. I put my phone away, a grin on my face as I looked at Julian. Mr. Vance is so generous, willing to help Ms. Rossi pay an extra $20 million right off the bat. It seems your love for her is truly the real deal. Julian was speechless. Leo, who had been watching the whole exchange with glee, couldn't hold back a snore of laughter. Isabella's face was a mixture of pale and flushed. It was likely the first time she had ever lost a war of words so completely. Finally, she took a deep breath and squeezed out a few words through her teeth. We're leaving. She turned and stormed out without another glance in my direction. Julian shot me one last venomous glare before following her. Silence returned to the suite. Leo rushed over and gave me a massive bear hug. Nate, you were awesome. You should have seen my sister's face. She looked like she'd swallowed a fly. I patted his back. Standard procedure. Come on. The therapists are waiting. Let's get back to it. But Leo held on, his face lit with excitement. Nate, what's your plan now? Are you really going to sue my sister? I settled back into my recliner. Why waste time with a lawsuit? Your sister is all about appearances. She was completely cornered by me today. She'll be too furious to sleep tonight. Tomorrow she'll have her lawyer send me the money and the deed to the penthouse. She can't afford the public humiliation. Leo nodded, half understanding. So, what happens after you get the money? What are you going to do? I closed my eyes, enjoying the massage therapist's skilled hands, a smile playing on my lips. Get the money, start a business, and live my best life. And in the meantime, enjoy the show. Leo was curious. What show? That so-called one that got away of your sisters is bad news. She's let the wolf into the hen house. She'll have plenty to cry about later. And when that happens, you, my inside man, will have to provide me with first-hand intelligence. Leo pounded his chest in a pledge of allegiance. You can count on me, Nate. I'll be your most loyal informant. I never liked that two-faced jerk anyway. I smile, satisfied. I may not have earned much else these past 3 years, but turning my brother-in-law into an ally was a definite win. For, as I predicted, I received a text from my bank the next morning. A long string of zeros, exactly $20 million. Immediately after, a call came in from an unknown number. It was Isabella's lawyer. Mr. Price, the $20 million has been transferred to your account. The deed for the top-floor penthouse at the Pinnacle Towers has also been processed. You can move in at your convenience. Also, Ms. Rossi asked me to convey a message. She hopes that you will refrain from appearing before her or any member of the Rossi family in the future, and especially that you no longer contact Leo. I let out a small laugh. Understood? And please convey a message to Ms. Rossi for me. It was a pleasure doing business with her. After hanging up, I immediately shared the good news with my inside man. Leo picked up on the first ring. Nate, did the money come through? It's here in the penthouse top floor. The one with the sky pool. I could hear Leo sucking a breath in envy. Holy crap. The Pinnacle Towers. Izzy wouldn't even live there herself. And she gave it to you. She must be absolutely livid. I could just picture Isabella's ice-cold expression as she signed the papers. Whether she's livid or not, I don't know. All I know is I'm moving tonight. Want to come over for a housewarming? Yes, absolutely. I'm skipping class and coming right now. I hung up and started to pack my few belongings. There wasn't much to pack. For the past 3 years, the mansion I lived in, the car I drove, and most of the clothes I wore were all provided by the Rossi family. The only thing that was truly mine was a single suitcase. Inside were a few of my old clothes and my private fund that I had built up over the last 3 years. Although the contract stipulated that Isabella was responsible for all my expenses, I had used my knowledge from my past life to make some discreet investments. I played the stock market, bought into crypto, and invested in a few small startups I knew would blow up. Now, my little private fund had grown into a very substantial sum. That money was my real safety net. The $20 million was just icing on the cake. As I rolled my suitcase out the mansion doors, I didn't feel a single shred of nostalgia. Every corner of this place was filled with suppression and pretense. Now I was finally free. The Pinnacle Towers. I swiped my key card, rode the elevator to the top floor, and stepped out into a private foyer. After a fingerprint scan, the door opened, and the view took my breath away. Massive floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the entire city skyline. The decor was minimalist and modern, with a black, white, and gray color palette that was exactly my style. The living room, dining area, and open-concept kitchen flowed together, creating an immense sense of space. Upstairs were the bedrooms and an office. And outside, a huge terrace featured a stunning azure swimming pool. It was even better than I had imagined. Isabella was a master at psychological torment, but when it came to fulfilling a contract, she was surprisingly thorough. As I was admiring my new home, the doorbell rang. It was Leo, backpack slung over his shoulder, panting. "Nate, I'm here." He walked in and was immediately blown away by the apartment. "Oh my God, this is insane." He tossed his backpack aside and did a celebratory roll on the enormous sofa. I grabbed a Coke from the fridge and tossed it to him. "Like it? You can come by whenever you want. Your sister can't say anything about it anymore." Leo chugged half the Coke and let out a satisfied burp. "Nate, you're the best." "All right, check this out." He pulled his phone out of his backpack and played a video. It was a Rossi family dinner. Isabella was at the head of the table with Julian seated beside her. The whole Rossi clan was gathered around, showering Julian with praise. My, Julian is so accomplished at such a young age. So much better than some people. I agree. He's the one who's truly worthy of our Isabella. In the video, Isabella listened with a faint smile, not refuting any of it. Julian, meanwhile, played the part of the perfect gentleman, handling the compliments with grace. Leo provided quiet commentary. This was from last night's dinner. A welcome home party for my new brother-in-law. I recorded it secretly. Look at my mom's face. She's practically ready to adopt him. I watched the parade of hypocritical faces without any feeling. I had seen this kind of thing plenty of times over the last 3 years. But as the camera panned across a corner of the room, I paused. In that corner sat a high-end electric tea maker. It was a birthday gift I had given Isabella once. At the time, she hadn't even glanced at it before telling the maid to put it away. I was surprised she had kept it. Leo noticed my gaze. "Oh, that thing. My sister's stomach was hurting yesterday, and my mom told her to drink some hot water, so she had the maid bring it out. But then Julian said it was too tacky and beneath her, so he made my sister throw it out." The video ended with a shot of a maid dropping the tea maker into a trash can. I turned off the video, my expression calm. "It's fine. It wasn't worth much anyway." Leo looked at me, asking carefully, "Nate, are you okay?" I smiled and ruffled his hair. "Why wouldn't I be? It was just a stupid tea maker. Come on, I'm taking you out for a proper meal to celebrate the new place." I felt nothing at all. I just silently made a new note in my phone. Emotional distress damages. At $10,000. I took Leo to a top-tier sushi restaurant. We had the freshest bluefin toro that melted in your mouth, creamy uni, and shrimp the size of your fist. Leo ate until he was stuffed, proclaiming it was the best meal of his life. "Nate, sticking with you is the way to go. My sister, eating with her is like going to a funeral. You can't eat this. You can't touch that. It's so boring." I placed a piece of Wagyu beef on his plate. "From now on, whatever you want to eat, I'll take you. On one condition, don't slack off on your studies. You're about to be a senior. Getting into college is a big deal." Leo puffed out his chest. "Don't worry, Nate. I've got it under control. As soon as I get into college, I'm coming to work for you." I laughed. "Sound good? I'll make you CEO." The meal was a huge success. After dropping Leo home, I began to map out my future. Step 1, register the company. I already had a name in mind, Momentum Media. I was on a build in MCN, an influencer management agency. Thanks to my memories from my past life, I knew that the short-form video and live streaming industries were about to explode. I had a goldmine of viral content ideas and knew of several creators who were destined to become superstars. Over the next few days, I was busy with paperwork, leasing an office, and hiring staff. Everything was proceeding smoothly. Leo became my #1 fan and primary informant. Every day after school, he would sneak over to my office, which was still under renovation, to give me the latest intel on the Rossi family. Nate, my sister gave Julian a VP position at the company today. Nate, Julian yelled at one of my sister's most trusted senior managers in a meeting today until she cried. Nate, Julian took my sister's pink Porsche out to go clubbing with some models. I listened to his reports, sipping my coffee and tapping away at my laptop. Everything Julian was doing was completely predictable. He was a classic case of a small man drunk on new power, eager to purge anyone who wasn't loyal to him and install his own people. Isabella was currently blinded by love, completely oblivious to his true nature. But I knew Julian's ambition didn't stop at vice president. He was waiting for an opportunity to create a scandal that would put both himself and Isabella in the spotlight. That opportunity came sooner than expected. The Rossi Group's annual anniversary gala. It was the company's most important event of the year, attended by all the major players in the business world. Leo delivered the intel in advance. Nate, at the gala, Julian is planning to do something big. I think he's going to propose to my sister in front of everyone. I put down the document I was reading. A proposal? There's more, Leo said, lowering his voice. I overheard him on the phone. He's also planning to publicly ruin you at the event. He said he's going to destroy your reputation so you can never show your face in this city again. My eyes narrowed. He wanted to come after me. Interesting. How is he planning to do that? Leo shook his head. I'm not sure about the specifics. He was being vague on the phone. Something about corporate espionage, leaking company secrets, that kind of thing. I understood instantly. It was a classic trope from the CEO novel playbook. The second male lead frames the disposable ex-husband to make the female lead completely give up on him, clearing the way for himself. It was cliché, but effective. Unfortunately for him, he had picked the wrong target. I looked at Leo. Leo, you need to play a little game. Leo's eyes lit up. What kind of game? On the night of the gala, I need you to... I leaned in and whispered a few instructions in his ear. Leo's eyes widened with excitement as he listened, nodding enthusiastically. Nate, that plan is devious. I love it. I clapped him on the shoulder. Do this for me, and I'll get you the latest high-end gaming laptop after you graduate. You got a deal. After Leo left, I made a phone call. Hey, Mr. Cohen, it's Nathan Price. I've got a business proposition for you. The Rossi Group's anniversary gala was held at the most luxurious 5-star hotel in the city. I didn't have an invitation, but getting in was the easy part. I changed into a server's uniform, picked up a tray, and blended seamlessly into the staff. The ballroom was a sea of glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos, the air buzzing with conversations and the clinking of champagne glasses. Isabella, dressed in a stunning silver couture gown, was on the arm of Julian, who wore a pristine white suit. They moved through the crowd like royalty, accepting congratulations. They really did look like the perfect couple. I could hear the whispers around me. I heard the CEO is finally divorcing that useless husband of hers. Really? That fantastic Mr. Vance is a much better match for her. Exactly. That Price guy was just a gold digger. Good riddance. I walked past them, tray in hand, my face a mask of professional indifference. The celebration reached its peak midway through the evening. Julian took the microphone and stepped onto the stage. He gazed lovingly at Isabella in the crowd. Isabella, meeting you is the luckiest moment of my life. Tonight, in front of all our friends, I want to... He trailed off, his expression suddenly changing. He looked as if he'd just received some terrible news, his face hardening with gravity and rage. He glared toward a section of the crowd and shouted, Nathan Price, get out here. Every head in the room turned in my direction. I stepped out from the shadows of the crowd, still dressed in my server's uniform. A stunned silence fell over the room, followed by a wave of murmurs. What is he doing here dressed like that? Did he sneak in? How embarrassing. The color drained from Isabella's face. She probably never imagined I would show up like this. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of shame and disgust. Julian stared at me, his face a mask of pain and disappointment. Nathan, I never thought you were this kind of person. Isabella has been nothing but good to you. Why would you betray her? Why would you betray the Rossi Group? He held up a flash drive. For those of you who don't know, the Rossi Group is currently in a bidding war for a major piece of real estate on the West Side. This is our company's most important project for the second half of the year, and our final bid proposal is on this very flash drive. But just a few minutes ago, our competitor, Vantage Corp, suddenly submitted a bid with a price identical to ours. Our confidential information has been leaked. The entire room erupted in gasps. Everyone knew what this meant. Corporate espionage was the lowest of the low in the business world. Julian pointed a finger at me, his voice ringing with righteous fury. And the person who leaked this information is him, Nathan Price. He was seen sneaking into Isabella's office. We checked the security footage, and it confirms it. Nathan, you sold out your own wife. You sold out her family all for money. Have you no shame? His speech was a masterful performance of passion and heartbreak. All the guests turned to me with looks of contempt and anger. Isabella stared at me, her body trembling with rage. Nathan, her voice was so cold it could have frozen a room. Is what he's saying true? She didn't even give me a chance to defend myself. She had already declared me guilty. I looked at her and found the situation almost comical. This was the woman I had loved for 3 years. Never questioning, never looking for the truth, always choosing to believe someone else. Before I could speak, Julian added more fuel to the fire. Isabella, don't even bother asking him. I've already called the police. He'll be here any minute. A corporate criminal like him needs to face the full force of the law. Calling the police. That was an unexpected twist. It seemed he was trying to bury me for good. Isabella closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were filled with nothing but cold resolution. She walked up to me and slapped me across the face. The sharp crack echoed through the ballroom. A collective gasp went through the crowd. My cheeks stung, a fiery heat spreading across my skin. But I didn't move. I just watched her quietly. Isabella, I never thought you were this kind of person. She pointed to the door, her voice trembling with emotion. Get out now. I never want to see you again. From this day forward, you have nothing to do with me or the Rossi family. Every word was a knife. All around me, guests were pointing and whispering. What a thankless snake. Miss Rossi must have been blind to ever get involved with someone like that. Serve him right. You should get lost. The humiliation was palpable. Julian stood to the side, a triumphant smirk playing on his lips. He thought he had won. He thought I would scurry away like a beaten dog, disgraced and condemned by all. He was wrong. Not only was I not broken, I actually smiled. I took out my phone and selected an audio file. A familiar smug voice filled the entire ballroom, amplified by the microphone system. That guy Price is an idiot, and Isabella is just as stupid. She believes whatever I say. I already faked the security footage of him entering the office, and I made sure only his fingerprints are on the flash drive. Why expose him at the gala? He'll be finished. His reputation will be destroyed, and the cops will take him away on the spot. Once he's out of the picture, I'll propose to Isabella and the Rossi empire. We'll be mine for the taking. The recording was crystal clear. It was the entire conversation of Julian in his study, bragging to a friend about his master plan. The ballroom fell into a dead, shocked silence. The expressions on everyone's faces were frozen. The looks of contempt and anger were still there, stuck, slowly being replaced by shock and utter disbelief. The color drained from Julian's face, leaving it as white as a sheet. His smug, confident expression shattered like a cheap mask, revealing the pure panic underneath. "No, that's not real," he stammered, shouting incoherently. "It's fake. It's been doctored. Price, you're framing me." I stopped the recording and calmly put my phone back in my pocket. "Framing you, Mr. Vance?" You could say a lot of things, but you should be careful with your words. As for whether this recording is doctored, I think the forensic team at the police department will have a more professional opinion than you. I turned to look at the utterly petrified Isabella. She swayed on her feet, looking like she might collapse at any moment. She stared at Julian in disbelief, her eyes filled with pain and confusion. She probably couldn't fathom how the man she had loved for years, the one that got away, whom she would have done anything for, could turn out to be such a scheming, vicious person. I pulled a document from my pocket. It was a copy of our original contract. In front of everyone, I tore it to shreds. The pieces of paper fluttered down around me like snowflakes. Congratulations, Isabella. Your old flame is back. As for our contract, I'm unilaterally declaring it void. Effective immediately. My voice wasn't loud, but in the silent hall, every single person heard it, and you can keep the $20 million penalty. Consider it compensation for the emotional distress I've endured for the past 3 years. I scanned the room, my eyes passing over the guests who had been pointing fingers at me just moments before. Finally, my gaze settled back on Isabella and Julian. I broke into a wide, brilliant smile. I wish you two a long and happy life together. You deserve each other. With that, I turned my back on the chaos and uproar behind me under the stunned gazes of everyone present. I shrugged off the ill-fitting server's jacket and dropped it to the floor. Then, with my back straight, I walked out without a second glance. As I reached the hotel entrance, I heard sirens approaching. I knew those were the police Julian had called for me. Now the person they were coming for was him. The irony was delicious. Outside the hotel, Leo was waiting anxiously. He rushed over the moment he saw me. "Nate, are you okay? Did my sister hit you?" He saw the red mark on my cheek, and his eyes immediately welled up. "She hit you. I'm going to go give her a piece of my mind." I grabbed his arm. "It was just a slap. It doesn't hurt. Compared to the show that just went down in there, this is nothing." Leo was still furious. "I don't care. She had no right to hit you." I smiled, pulled a set of car keys from my pocket, and tossed them to him. "A reward for my star player. This is for you." Leo looked down at the keys in his hand and saw the logo of a supercar brand he had only ever dreamed of owning. His eyes went wide. "Nate, this is way too much. Take it. I can afford it. From now on, you're flying with me." I slung my arm around his shoulder and looked out at the glittering city lights. From this day forward, Nathan Price's life was truly beginning. I launched Memento Media in record time. I leased an office in a top-tier skyscraper in the CBD, just 2 blocks from my new penthouse. Using my nest egg and my knowledge of the future, I quickly signed several creators who were on the verge of becoming massive stars in the live streaming and short-form video space. One was a struggling gamer, a technical genius with the social skills of a rock. Another was a talented singer and artist trapped in a dead-end contract with an MCN that was exploiting her. And the third was a comedian who would one day go viral with a series on parenting in reverse. Right now, they were all nobodies, but I knew they were diamonds in the rough, just waiting for a chance to shine. The day Leo finished his final high school exam, he skipped his graduation trip and showed up at my company with a suitcase. I gave him the title of executive assistant to the CEO, which really just meant he was my driver and gopher. But the kid was bursting with energy, attacking every task like his life depended on it. The company was in its infancy, and we were building it from the ground up. My team and I worked around the clock, creating tailor-made content and marketing strategies for our talent. Soon, our hard work started to pay off. The gamer, under the new persona of the brutally honest trash talker that I designed, quickly blew up on the platform with his insane skills and witty commentary. His follower count shot past 1 million within a month. For the singer, we produced a series of high-concept music videos with a classic, elegant aesthetic. Paired with her ethereal voice, she became the platform's new goddess of soul. With a single video racking up millions of likes, the company was finally on solid ground, and the revenue was climbing steadily. Meanwhile, things weren't going so well for the Rossi family and Julian Vance. Julian, thanks to a team of expensive lawyers hired by the Rossis, managed to avoid jail time for attempted corporate sabotage, but his reputation was utterly destroyed. He became a laughingstock in the business community. The scandal also severely undermined Isabella's authority at her company. More importantly, she had finally seen Julian for who he truly was. I heard they had a massive fight after the gala and broke up for good. Julian was kicked out of the Rossi mansion. Leo told me Isabella was in a very bad way during that time, locking herself in her room and refusing to see anyone. Her stomach problems came back with a vengeance, and she was suffering from insomnia. Without me there to make her warm breakfasts and soothing teas, without my consistent goodnight texts, her life had apparently fallen into disarray. Leo said, "Nate, I think my sister regrets it. She asked me yesterday how you were doing. I was reviewing the company's financial reports and didn't look up. What did you tell her?" "I told her you were doing amazing, that your company was taking off, you were surrounded by beautiful women, and you were about to conquer the world. I said you'd forgotten she even existed." Leo's tone was full of pride. I lifted my head and glanced at him. "Good work. Your bonus is doubled next month." Leo grinned. "It's not about the bonus, Nate. I honestly think my sister deserves this. The way she treated you. It's too late for regrets now." I didn't say anything, just went back to the reports. Regrets? Maybe. But what did that have to do with me? Our contract was over. I had already turned a new page in my life. She was still stuck in the past. One day, to generate buzz for a new charismatic female streamer I had signed, I orchestrated a scandal. I took her to a high-end restaurant in my new sports car. Then, I had a paparazzo I'd hired take some candid shots. The photos were all over the internet in no time. Hashtag momentum, hashtag medieval romance, hashtag mysterious millionaire dines with streamer. The pictures were perfectly framed to look intimate. Me leaning in to cut her steak, her smiling at me adoringly. Attractive couple, luxury car, fancy restaurant. It was the perfect recipe for a viral story. My company and the streamer's popularity skyrocketed overnight. I knew Isabella would see the news. Sure enough, that night, I got a call from an unlisted number. I answered but said nothing. There was a long silence on the other end. Then a familiar voice, trembling slightly, spoke. "Nathan," it was Isabella. "It's me." My tone was calm, distant. "Ms. Rossi, is there something I can help you with?" The formal Ms. Rossi seemed to sting her. She paused again. I saw the news. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Did you get a new girlfriend?" I let out a soft laugh. "Ms. Rossi, I don't see how that's any of your business. We have no relationship anymore. If you only called to ask me that, then I'm afraid I have to go. I'm very busy." "Nathan," she called out, her voice urgent. "Can we meet? I want to talk to you." I stood by my office's floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the river of headlights below. "Ms. Rossi, I don't think there's anything for us to talk about. Please don't disturb my new life again." With that, I hung up the phone and blocked the number. The city lights outside were a dazzling, blurry constellation. In my world, there was no longer a place for her. Hanging up on her didn't deter Isabella. She started trying to force her way back into my life through various means. She would wait for me outside my office building. One evening, there was a torrential downpour. She stood there without an umbrella, completely soaked, her hair plastered to her face. She looked pathetic and miserable. Even the young woman at my building's front desk felt sorry for her. "Mr. Price," she said, "Ms. Rossi is downstairs. Should we maybe invite her up?" I stared out the window at the sheets of rain, my face impassive. "No, let her wait." She wanted to play the victim in a tragedy. I refused to play along. She thought she could make me feel guilty, make me soften. Too bad for her. The Nathan Price of today wasn't the subservient self from 3 years ago. After 2 hours in the rain, she finally gave up and hailed cab. The next day, Leo told me she had come down with a high fever and had spent a day in hospital. All I said was, "Oh." Then I slapped a new project proposal down in front of Leo. "Stop gossiping. I need you to oversee this project. Do a good job, and I'll get you a new car." Leo immediately forgot all about his sister, his eyes lighting up as he dove into the proposal. Besides waiting for me after work, Isabella also started trying to cook. She was probably trying to replicate all the things I used to do for her. She would prepare elaborate lunches and have them delivered to my office's front desk. The receptionist would bring them to me with a troubled expression every time. Mr. Price, this is from Miss Rossi. I wouldn't even glance at it. Throw it out. Or, if any of you want it, you can share it. Then in front of all my employees, I pick up my phone. Hey, Sarah. Order everyone the deluxe afternoon special. Lobster rolls, shrimp cocktails, grilled oysters, the works. It's on me. A cheer would erupt through the office. Isabella's lovingly prepared lunch was instantly rendered a joke. She must have heard about these incidents from Leo. So, she shifted her focus to her last resort, her dear younger brother. She began showering Leo with gifts. The newest sneakers, limited edition gaming consoles, even a motorcycle he had been talking about for ages. She thought she could bribe him into putting in a good word for me. Instead, Leo immediately listed everything she gave him on eBay. His product description was brutally blunt. Gifts from my ex-sister-in-law. Feels like bad juju distracting me from my studies. Selling for 90% off. My loss is your gain. The story quickly spread through their social circles. Isabella became the laughingstock of the city's elite. The powerful CEO dumped by her ex-husband, now publicly humiliated by her younger brother in her desperate attempts to win him back. I heard about it at a business dinner. I was in the middle of a lively conversation with several investors. When I heard the news, I just smiled and raised my glass. Gentlemen, shall we continue our discussion about that series of funding? In the world of business, there's no room for pity, only for profit. Isabella's humiliation only made me seem more valuable. As I expected, the investors who had been on the fence were now looking at me with newfound respect. A man who could make the great Isabella Rossi gravel was clearly a man of considerable power and ability. By the end of the dinner, I had secured $30 million in a series of funding. My company was leveling up. Meanwhile, Julian Vance, having failed in the business world, was getting desperate. He found out that my company was planning a large outdoor festival for streamers and their fans. He bribed several event staff members to tamper with the electrical equipment, hoping to cause a major accident. He wanted to ruin me, ruin my company, ruin everything I had built. Unfortunately for him, he seriously underestimated me. I had anticipated he wouldn't go down without a fight. So, I had installed top-of-the-line security and surveillance systems in my company and for all my projects. Julian and his hired hands were caught on high-definition cameras. Their clandestine activities in the utility room were captured in perfect clarity. I didn't expose them right away. I waited until they had everything set up. Then I called the police. When the officers arrived, they caught them red-handed with irrefutable evidence against him. Julian had no way to talk his way out of it this time. Intentional destruction of property endangering public safety. He was facing serious prison time. To protect its own reputation, the Rossi family immediately issued a public statement, completely severing all ties with Julian Vance. And just like that, the once admired, one that got away became a social pariah, his name dragged through the mud. Julian's spectacular downfall seemed to be the final straw for Isabella. She finally understood what kind of man she had thrown away and for whom. She had lost more than just a contract husband. She had lost someone who had once cherished her, who had genuinely and sincerely cared for her. Her desperate campaign to win me back entered its most intense phase. She abandoned the petty, embarrassing tactics. She started leveraging the Rossi family's resources to help my company both openly and behind the scenes. She introduced me to clients, helped me pull strings, and even publicly endorsed Momina Media in a Rossi Group board meeting, expressing her hope for a strategic partnership. She humbled herself completely, lowered herself to the dust. Everyone in our circle saw it. The great Isabella Rossi was dead set on getting her ex-husband back. Many people started to envy me. They thought I was a master of playing hard to get. All I had to do was nod, and I would have it all. The woman, the fortune, a shortcut to the very top. Even Leo started to waver. He asked me cautiously one day, "Nate, my sister, she's been having a really rough time. The old guys on the board, they see she's a woman, and without Julian to back her up, they've started to disrespect her. She's fighting battles on all fronts, and the pressure is immense. I've caught her crying in her study late at night more than once. Maybe you could just give her a chance." I was polishing a new fishing rod. I paused and looked up at Leo. Leo, have you forgotten how she treated me? That slap in front of all those people. Have you forgotten? The way she instantly believed I was a corporate spy, ready to hand me over to the police without a second thought. Have you forgotten that? Leo's face paled, and he looked down. I haven't forgotten, but I cut him off. No, but people in miserable situations often have themselves to blame. She chose this path. She has no one to blame but herself. And Nathan Price is not a recycling bin. I don't take back the trash. Leo didn't say another word. I knew he was just having a moment of weakness, of pity for his sister. But my heart, which had been frozen solid by Isabella's coldness 3 years ago, was never going to thaw. It was another rainy night. Lightning flashed, and thunder rolled as wind and rain battered the city. I had just finished a video conference and was about to head home. Downstairs in front of the building, I saw that familiar figure again. Isabella was standing under the awning by the main entrance, without an umbrella. The wind whipped rain against her trench coat, tangling her hair. She looked even more haggard than the last time, her face as pale as a sheet of paper. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, like a drowning person spotting a piece of driftwood. She walked toward me, her lips purple from the cold. Nathan. I stood my ground, watching her approach. She stopped in front of me, rainwater tracing paths down her cheeks. It was impossible to tell if it was rain or tears. Can we talk? She asked, her voice pleading. A few of my employees who were leaving late walked by, whispering and pointing at us. I frowned. I had no desire to star in a primetime soap opera in front of my office. I looked at her, shivering in the cold, and felt a flicker of pity, but that flicker was quickly extinguished by logic. I sighed, took off my coat, and draped it over her shoulders. Then, in a tone so neutral it bordered on cold, I said, "Come inside." A massive wave of hope ignited in Isabella's eyes. She thought I was finally giving in. She thought I was finally coming back to her. She looked at me and nodded vigorously, following me into the building. She didn't see the icy smile that crossed my face the moment I turned away. Isabella, the show is just getting started. I led Isabella to my office. I turned on the heat and poured her a cup of hot water. She cupped the mug in her hands, which were still trembling. Whether from cold or excitement, I couldn't tell. She sat on the sofa, looking anxious and small, like a child who had done something wrong. It was a stark contrast to her usual persona as the untouchable high and mighty CEO. "Thank you," she said softly. I didn't reply. I sat in my chair across from her and simply watched her. My silence seemed to make her uncomfortable, and she didn't seem to know what to say. The only sound in the office was the quiet hum of the heater. The atmosphere was thick with awkwardness. Finally, she broke the silence. "Nathan, I'm sorry." She looked up, her eyes red-rimmed. "Before, I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I shouldn't have distrusted you. I regret it." As she spoke, tears began to fall. "I know it's too late to say any of this now, but can you please just give me one more chance? Can we start over? Please." She was a picture of heartbreak, a damsel in distress. If this had been me 3 years ago, seeing her like this would have shattered my heart. But now I felt nothing. In fact, I found it almost amusing. A little too little, a little too late. I didn't answer her right away. I just sat there watching her performance. When her tears subsided and she had composed herself slightly, I finally spoke, my voice calm and even. "Ms. Rossi, do you really think there's any possibility for us?" My tone was flat, betraying no emotion. Isabella seemed taken aback by the question. She answered eagerly, "Yes, of course there is. Nathan, I know I hurt you deeply, but I do love you. I only realized later that I have fallen in love with you a long time ago. Julian was just an obsession from my past. I see him clearly now, and the only one I want is you. If you're willing to come back, I'll do anything for you. I'll give you half of my shares in the Rossi Group. No, I'll give you all of them. Let's get married again, okay?" She grew more and more impassioned, even standing up as if to come toward me. I held up a hand, a gesture for her to stop. She froze, her face a mixture of hope and anxiety. I looked at her, at this pathetic version of the once proud woman, and any last shred of pity I might have had vanished. I smiled faintly. "Ms. Rossi, let's not get ahead of ourselves. You've been out in the rain. You should get cleaned up. I'll have my assistant find you a change of clothes. Then I'll take you home." My tone was surprisingly gentle. The hope in Isabella's eyes burned brighter. She thought my resolve was wavering, that I was offering her an olive branch. She nodded eagerly. Okay, whatever you say." I called my assistant and asked her to take Isabella to the lounge to get changed. As I watched her leave, the gentle expression on my face vanished, replaced by a cold, hard mask. "You think this is a new beginning, Isabella?" "No, this is the final judgment I have prepared for you." An hour later, an exclusive dinner for major investors, held at the city's most elite private club, I arrived with Isabella on my arm. She was now dressed in a chic professional pantsuit, her makeup flawlessly applied. Her presence immediately caused a stir. The moment I walked into the venue with her, a hush fell over the room. It was followed by a wave of curious, surprised, and knowing glances. Everyone assumed we were back together. Isabella was clearly relishing the attention. She stood tall, a confident smile on her face once again. The radiant CEO of the Rossi Group. She thought she had won me back. Halfway through the dinner, Isabella suddenly picked up a microphone and walked onto the stage. She looked at me, her eyes filled with an all-consuming love. "Ladies and gentlemen, friends, I'd like to take this opportunity to make an announcement." She took a deep breath, her voice ringing through the hall. "On behalf of the Rossi Group, I have decided to make an unconditional strategic investment in Momentum Media. And furthermore," she paused, her gaze fixed on me, burning with intensity. "I, Isabella Rossi, hope to have a new beginning with Mr. Nathan Price. Nathan, will you give me another chance?" She had just proposed to me in front of the entire business elite. She believed that by tying our businesses together and making this public declaration, she was making me an offer I couldn't refuse. She thought her victory was assured. Every eye in the room turned to me, waiting for my answer. I met the gazes of the entire room and walked onto the stage with a smile. I took the microphone from Isabella's hand. She looked at me, her eyes shining with the certainty of triumph. The room was silent. Everyone held their breath, ready to witness the reconciliation of the century. I cleared my throat and looked out at the audience. "Thank you very much. Thank you to all our guests, and thank you, Ms. Rossi, for your generous offer." The smile on Isabella's face deepened. Then my tone shifted. "However, I think there may be a misunderstanding about me, about Ms. Rossi, and about the nature of our relationship." Isabella's smile froze. I ignored her, turning and nodding toward the large screen behind the stage. It flickered to life. The first slide was a close-up of a document. The title was in huge, bold letters, "Prenuptial," and below it, a line of text clearly outlining the core term. "The term of this contract shall be 3 years. Upon the expiration of the contract term, the marital relationship shall be automatically dissolved. The two parties shall henceforth go their separate ways." The room exploded with murmurs. The color drained completely from Isabella's face. I continued, my voice steady as if narrating a story about someone else. 3 years ago, Ms. Rossi and I signed this agreement. I, Nathan Price, was to play the role of her husband for 3 years, shielding her from unwanted attention. In return, she, Isabella Rossi, would pay me a fee of $20 million and provide one piece of real estate. It was a fair transaction, a purely professional employer-employee relationship. I clicked to the next slide. It was a detailed, illustrated log of my work duties over the past 3 years, broken down day by day. In these 3 years, I fended off 27 unwanted suitors for Miss Rossi, a list that includes, but is not limited to, chasing off harassing heirs and dealing with distant relatives trying to get a piece of her fortune. In these 3 years, Miss Rossi suffered from stomach pain 108 times. I prepared soothing herbal teas for her 108 times. The ingredients and preparation methods for each are on record. In these 3 years, during her brother Leo's most rebellious phase, I spent over 500 hours playing video games with him and had hundreds of late-night talks, successfully guiding him from a potential high school dropout to a motivated, positive young man. All of this was part of my duty as a contract husband. I believe I performed my duties diligently and professionally. I turned to look at Isabella, whose face was now as pale as a ghost. And how, Rossi, did you repay my diligence? You repaid me with a silent treatment, with public humiliation, and with absolute unwavering distrust. When your old flame returned, you cast me aside like a piece of trash. When he framed me, you stood by his side, shamed me in public, and were fully prepared to let my reputation be destroyed and have me sent to prison. Miss Rossi, is this what you call love? If it is, then your love is both cheap and incredibly damaging. Isabella swayed, grabbing the podium to keep herself from collapsing. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. My words were daggers, and each one had hit its mark. I gave her no time to recover, delivering the final fatal blow. As for your investment, my voice changed, and I pointed to a man in the front row, a kindly-looking man with a broad smile. Mr. Davis, I believe we can now officially announce the $30 million series of funding for Momentum Media that we finalized last week. Correct. The man, a major venture capitalist, stood up with a grin and took a microphone. Of course, Mr. Price is a brilliant young entrepreneur, and Momentum Media has a boundless future. We at Apex Capital are honored to be the lead investor for their Series A round. He walked on the stage and shook my hand warmly. The cameras flashed relentlessly. The room was in an uproar. Everyone finally understood. I didn't need the Rossi family's money. I had already secured a bigger, better, more powerful partner. Isabella's public declaration of love and her investment offer had been exposed for what it was, a one-woman show, a humiliating, self-inflicted disaster. I released Mr. Davis's hand and looked at Isabella one last time. She stood there, ashen-faced, as if her soul had been ripped from her body. I gave her the most genuine, liberated, and brilliant smile I had shown in 3 years. So, Miss Rossi, I said, thank you for your love, but in my world, there's no room for you anymore. I put down a microphone and walked off the stage. As I passed Leo, I stopped. Oh, by the way, I said, looking at my former brother-in-law, whose face was flushed with excitement and pure admiration. Leo, that new yacht I bought just got delivered. Want to go fishing tomorrow? Leo leaped out of his chair. You know it, Nate. I ruffled his hair, and without a single backward glance at Isabella, I walked out shoulder to shoulder with my best friend. Behind me lay the spectacular ruins of Isabella's grand romantic gesture. Ahead of us was a brand new world, vast and free, that was truly mine.